BeastNet Podcast, sponsored in part by James Safety Services, OCR Buddy, and supported by the fitness community. Here we discuss all things fitness related, running, rucking, mental health and preparedness, and of course, obstacle course racing. Welcome to the BeastNet.
We don't bite hard.
And I believe that more heart than scars is the hardest of weaknesses, is the heart of Tough Mudder. I believe that when they see that somebody who's got a bigger belly, that's been through these struggles, and it's no secret of my depression. I mean, you all almost lost, the community almost lost me a few years back. And here I am talking all this stuff and trying to reach out to people, and something just totally took the wind out of my sails, and I was in such a desperate place that I almost I'm a survivor of a suicide attempt in sobriety. I didn't take something that would get me high, but I took something that would put me to sleep and never wake me up again. And that got interrupted because of this community.
Which we're all glad it did.
And one of the things I was thinking
Very
about is we lost a guy from OEW, and who I knew and was around and did stuff with. And I was thinking, it was in the same year. I was like, we don't need to have the two groups that are talking about preventing suicide. Him for the veterans group and me for the community. That we just, and it was my dad, who I wasn't as close to, but I got closer to in my life, because here's the thing. It wasn't his brokenness. It wasn't his weakness that I began to be able to be close to him. So that's the big lie, is we think we have to be beautiful and strong and powerful. My dad was standing in front of the mirror, and he had lost so much weight because of lung cancer. And I'm having to help him go to the bathroom and taking care of him. And he's standing in the mirror, just like he can't even get dressed. I'm having to help him do everything. And he's like, look at his legs. He used to have really strong calves like I have. My dad's legs and my legs look the same. We just, when you're behind me, that's Zack Paben. You can tell there's a burly guy with some big old calves going up the thing, and that's what my dad was like. His legs were strong, and he must have gotten down to 120 pounds maybe. And I said, look how frail I am. Look how weak I am. And I looked at my dad and I said, no, this is the strongest I've ever seen you. This is the bravest I've ever seen you. This is the closest I've ever been that you let me be here to be the person to do this to you. And this is the best chance we've ever had at saving our relationship. The devil wants to tell you that it's your weakness and your frailty and the things and what's bad about you, or too skinny or too this or too that, and that you're too much and you're not going to be loved. And it is when you share that broken thing, that's where the holy comes in. That's where the beauty is, where people are they're Botoxing their lips, and they're peeling their faces back, and they're injecting their boobs and sucking the fat on their belly. Well, they're guys are injecting things in their arms to look bigger. There's all this artificial stuff. And the reality is, in our shared weakness and vulnerability is where the grace, the love, the mystery, and the awe.
Mm-hmm.
Think of all those motivational speeches we've seen. You got to see part of the video. The videos of when we came through carrying that couch, everyone got silent. They got it, because they could say, "Oh, that's not me in the wheelchair. I appreciate what you're doing. That's so inspiring. It's so cool. That's not me." Even though statistically it's gonna be you. You're either gonna die abruptly or your body's gonna shut down so that you end up in a chair. That's how it goes. But people don't want to deal with that idea, so they're like, it's not me. But when they got the idea that it was the couch, and they saw it, and they saw it like the coffin, they got the deal, and it got holy. My dad, at a few years back, this was 3 years ago, he got a hold of Wendy, my ex, who's the co-founder of the charity, and he was like, we just finished a huge big event here at the headquarters. We climbed up a big mountain. We went up Mount Mitchell without a trail, and a lot of it was intense and powerful, and it was an incredible moment. You could say, we had a mountaintop experience, but I was married, and by the time the thing was over, that was over. That marriage was over, and I couldn't deal with it. So my dad reached out to Wendy and said, "Can you please go by the house and check on him. I just feel like something isn't right. And when she did, when Wendy came up the door, I ended up spitting all the pills out because I didn't want her to have to see me that way, you know. And I ended up giving her my rifle and saying, I need help.
And that's huge. And that is strength. When you can look at somebody and say, I need help.
Yeah.
That to me is the strongest person, because that's the hardest thing. We especially as men in our age, we were raised to not have emotions, to suck it up, swallow it, and just move on. You were there to make sure your family is taken care of. There's a roof over your head. You are the caretaker, but you're not allowed to have emotion and do that. You swallow it. So for us to, especially our generation, to look at someone and say, I'm broken.
Yeah.
And I need help.
Yeah.
Is so strong to me.
The charity shifted. I mean, we had the moment with Mike Rowe, and that was really cool thing. We've had incredible mountaintop experiences, but it wasn't to the place where I can get and just be honest with every person and say, here's where my physical health is failing. Here's where my mental health is failing. Here are the struggles we're having with the charity growing from being so small to getting bigger, and to try to step in. It wasn't so I could say, hey, I need somebody else to step in to be a CEO, because I need someone who has business qualities and skills to help More Heart Than Scars go from a little thing to a bigger thing. And when I admitted all of that, and I believe this couch thing for yourcouch.org has the ability to go way bigger than anything. So that's what we want people to do, is just to go to yourcouch.org, and you can sign up to get more information, because more is coming. You know, I think that I'm going on 106.9 The Light, which is the Billy Graham radio station, sometime next week. We're going to try to work that out. I was just speaking with one of the DJs who's raced with us before, and they want to do a podcast on it. Looks like I'm going down to Florida to meet with Joe directly to do this. We're setting up the dates. People see it and they feel it. So Joe has got the suck it up. He's got the great tough guy thing. He's got all the shoulds, and that's not a bad thing. He has the right shoulds. You should get in the cold water. You shouldn't eat that processed food. You should do some yoga. You should breathe. You should challenge yourself. All those things are true. But what I know about Joe and the other side of him is there is a kindness and a softness and a love, especially for kids. And kids are struggling right now more than ever, being stuck in this thing. So it feels like we can reach the young people who are watching the video games, of people playing the video games, eating the bonbons or whatever the heck they got going on. Those, we could reach the kids, and we could reach the people that are stuck on the couch to get them to go. And what we can also do is to challenge those people who are fit and are doing well, to befriend people that are struggling and say, hey, I got a race coming up and I don't want to go for time. I want to go for a good time. I'm not going for time. I'm going for a good time. And I want to get you through the race. And if they're really close enough to them, you can say, I'd rather carry your couch, or I'd rather carry your butt up over things than carry your coffin. You matter to me. I want to go through the race, and I'm willing to go as slow as you go, and we're going to have a good time, because I want you to experience it. And some things you're going to be able to do, and some things you aren't. And I'll do your burpees for you, or walk the distance with you. But let's do this together. Mm-hmm. That's powerful. And as every elite athlete eventually stops being an elite athlete, there is a whole new life for them. That's what happened to Joey. Joey McGlynn was an incredible athlete. He could have kept on going and pushing it. But when he shifted it to start to taking care of other people and lifting other people up besides himself, his entire focus changed. I mean, he's still very athletic as far as his age group. If we were really doing age group for those guys, for the 55-year-old guys out there, Joey would kill it. You know, he's incredibly fit and strong and all of that. But he gets his joy out of getting all of us moving together. And that's beautiful. Yes. That's the light in the darkness. So that's that holy moment that we don't have to be alone in this. And no matter where you are, you know, whether you can run a mile in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 5 minutes, it's still the same distance.
Yeah, it's still a mile.
Still a mile. And if you're struggling to get a 20-minute mile in, and you're huffing and puffing, it's hurting you, and the guy's running a 5-minute or a 4 high, they're huffing and puffing and struggling. I mean, the struggle is there no matter what. So you can meet the challenge can be available to you. But the challenge is so much better when you're having fun and doing fart jokes and cutting up and people are clapping and laughing and enjoying the whole thing. That's where it comes in, man. Like, it's so much better to do it together.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is. Like I said, that's what saved me, was starting to do it with the team again. Once I did a race with the team, I'm like, this is what it's about. It's not about standing on that podium or, which for years I thought that's what I wanted to get fast and I wanted to stand on that podium. And I got, down to the weight and I did a couple competitive and I'm like, this feels weird because there's nobody with me. I'm not talking to anybody. And it was during the COVID years where you had to like show up 30 minutes before the race, you ran, and then you left. And I'm like, this is just weird. This isn't the same thing. And then all of a sudden I started doing races with the team and I'm like, oh, this is why I do this.
Right.
It's for this reason. I'm out here, it's like when we did Tough Mudder, I had so many people like, oh, did you do this? Did you do that? I did. I'm like, I was next to Marla. I pulled Marla. I pushed. I helped. That's what I did. The entire time I was there, it wasn't about me being able to do anything, but help Marla, but get Marla through. And that is amazing. When I did the race with Erica, same thing. Just get her through.
Right. Shifts your whole perspective. And then people will go like, well, did they do all their whole perspective? Do this or do that? It's none of it freaking matters. We are all hurling through space on a rock that is entropy is happening. Entropy is happening. Entropy was happening before us. It's happening after us. It is going to take place. All things decay. The orbits of the moon and of the stars and are very close to the sun itself will burn itself out. Everything is burning out and it will collapse inward and then it will expand again. And there is not any amount of how great your butt looks in a pair of yoga pants will prevent entropy. It's going to take place. Death is coming for all of us. By the way. Huh? What did you say?
Yeah, it is. I said mine looks amazing, by the way.
That's amazing. The screen froze at just the right time. Like, what looks amazing?
Me, man.
Yeah, your butt looks great in yoga pants. I mean, it's going to go. And so then how do we have fellowship? Because even all the people that we love, the longer you live, the more you lose more people. So like, what's the big message here? What are we doing is in acknowledging our weakness and in acknowledging our burdens and lifting one another up, then we find purpose and connection. And you're going to try to find a false comfort in the couch, but you're not going to be comforted. To be comforted, to be held up is when, completing the race. When I got to hug Melissa, Chris's mom, at the end of that race, of carrying that couch all the way through. And her face, I got to see her face and just tears and smiling, going that connection, that true comfort of like, I see you, I feel what you're going through. I can only imagine it, but I can be there with you. I can share in the struggle and in the pain, and I can help lessen the burden. I can't alleviate it, but I can comfort you. That connection. No matter how good the episode of Suits is, and it's a great show, it's not going to that buddy relationship on the show of these characters trying to fight for each other to figure out if they're going to stick it out that is we're watching an illusion. It's not our actual buddy. What we all want is our own buddy. We want our own friend. And we watch those cop movies. We're like, well, which one is? I think of who's the guy from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original guy. Well, Gene Wilder and the black comedian that was
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Yeah, those two together, you look like I want to have that kind of friendship. And then as it went on, it became the guy from Mel Gibson and another guy from Lethal Weapons, and then it started you know, and then there's all these other buddy cops that move on. Then it was Eddie Murphy was with some goofy old white guy. You see all these really fun buddy films. You're like, well, I want a friend like that. I mean, we would, but you're not going to get it from watching the show. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get a closeness. You're not going to get a. Now they have AI boyfriends and girlfriends for people. The artificial screen. I mean, so there was a thing that Plato talked about. The allegory of the cave was a story about enlightenment in which people were shackled in a cave with a fire behind them, and on the wall was a projection of the shadows, and they were talking and doing stuff. And the people were under the illusion those shadows were real. Well, that is, come here, you big goofy dog. That is the whole thing we're dealing with. This thing, the shadows on the wall from this, people are thinking that's what a real boyfriend girlfriend is. That's what dancing is. That's what intimacy is. That's what a good meal is. You know, like we just see all this stuff, and it's absolute bullshit. It's not satisfying at all.
Complete.
Come here.
Oh,
it's
complete bullshit.
It's complete bullshit, and that's why people are. You can eat and eat and eat and eat and never get full. No matter how many episodes you watch, that's not your life. You're not connected. So, you know, the baptism of fire and mud and blood is in the Spartan and the Tough Mudders. It's in the absolute course racing community. It's out there doing it. It's connecting with others, especially if it's with a purpose. You know, if you get a great joy, if the difference is between you going out and getting drunk and you know, chasing all sorts of highs, and if your high is to try to podium, great. That's a great use of time. There's nothing wrong with that. Fantastic. You know, I wish the race, the Spartan was around when I was younger that I could have done. That would have been great for me. And so there's nothing wrong with chasing podiums. And it's a lot of fun to find out your personal best and to do all of that. But you're still getting that camaraderie and that sense of, I mean, I've seen the pros still reach out for each other, still lift each other up, you know, and cheer for one another. There's a lot of times in World's Toughest, when the guy who finishes, a lot of times he goes, they'll turn around, after they get hydrated, they get a full something, and they're cheering the person who was chasing them, and they'll say things like, "I would have never gotten that fast if you weren't that fast. I would have never be where I am if it wasn't for you. I've been chasing you all season." I've watched that for more than a decade. So there is a camaraderie even in the competition.
Yeah.
There's no other
Which is
sport
amazing.
like
That's
it.
why I love this community. And now in Tough Mudder, what was it, a couple years ago, where the female lead stopped to help the two racers behind her get over an obstacle?
Yeah.
You don't see that in any other sport, where the person in the lead is going to be like, oh, they're going to have problems with this, I'm just going to continue on and get a bigger lead. No, she stopped and helped them over. That is what defines this sport. And More Heart Than Scars, to me, is what fully defines that, because everybody that volunteers, they don't go out there to podium. They don't go out there to be the fastest. They go out there to make sure that other people get to finish, that other people get to do stuff that we take for granted. And people, you know, to really highlight and let people know, hey, you're not alone.
No.
All these invisible
and
scars.
unfortunately, as we've grown,
we all have
sometimes we've gotten so big that we've lost some people. And sometimes in groups we finish, like, we haven't done this perfectly as we are growing, and so we are in a process of trying to do that better. You know, to count heads to see who's agreeing to go and how's finished, because not everybody has finished with us the way that we've wanted. We've certainly done more good than bad, you know, significantly so. But
We're
it's
human.
the interesting thing is, the closer you try to shine the light in the darkness, then the flaws and the, you know, people come up to divide. And the more capable we are of kicking the devil in the dirt, the more the devil will then say, oh, you're a threat. And the more we've grown, then there can be struggles and strifes in it. Years ago, I was hanging out with Joe DeSena. He was like, look, I really want the veterans groups and More Heart Than Scars not to be competitive with each other. I want you guys to connect more with each other. I want you to work that out. This is who I care about, you know. And years ago, when we were like 8 years ago, I remember having a conversation with Joe when he sent me over to Wales. And I came back and said, my hope is one day that more Hearts and Scars and a couple of the veterans group and a couple other ones would be sort of the core of what you're doing, to be part of your why. And that has happened. And people look at, oh, well, the prices are this, or what does this mean, or this sponsorship, and they can get caught up in the things that the struggles. I mean, Joe is by no means perfect. Spartan Tough Mudder's not perfect, but I mean, Joe saved Tough Mudder. I saved it. It wouldn't exist.
No,
it wouldn't still be going. And a lot of races have gone over, and there was a bubble that came with it. But I think the growth that can happen now, you can be part of the culture, especially if you get to the Olympics. And when we first started doing it, it was Michael Mills, a guy named Tim. It was Tim and Mike. They were the only people doing it in a wheelchair. And so Mike and I became best friends, and Michael Mills, and we started doing this more and more, and Team Believe in these different groups. And now I'm at races all the time and I see wheelchairs. Other groups, it's not like a strange thing. It's more common, And then people are like, well, the way they're doing it, I mean, their athlete does this, or how adaptive are they? Like all this dumb shit. And I want to remind people that dumb shit, that toxic tongue, that kills people.
Yes.
Gossiping, running your mouth in a way that you see somebody doing something, well, I wouldn't do it this way. Okay. Man, I mean, hey, Tina, come here, baby. They found the snacks. I feel vulnerable at talking about, well, who is he to be a guy running a mental health program and then more other scars, and he's chunky and he doesn't eat right, and he has a suicide attempt, and he's still broke, because I mean, haven't made money. I've done a couple of talks that I've gotten paid for over the years, but pretty much everything that's ever gotten has gone back into charity. So I don't, my life hasn't gotten easier in this. I've lost 2 marriages while I was in Spartan Tough Mudder fighting this charity. I have fallen all over the place. And I've heard my share of stuff from folks like, well, who are you to do this? And what did you do with this? And oh man. And what you have to remember is that hurt people.
Yes.
If somebody is talking crap to me or about the team or about other people or about other groups, and so that is an indication of how unsettled they are in the inside. Because if you're fighting for your life, you don't have any room but to see the beauty in other people. When I see somebody that's struggling through a race and they're doing it, man, I stop and I want to be there. I don't ever think that I'm better than other people. I mean, I have to fight within my own self to keep myself alive. Like my goal is to die sober and not by my own hand. So, and ultimately that I outlive my children. That is the goal of my life, is that they live longer than that I die before them, and I don't die by my own hand, and I don't die by using alcohol and drugs. And if I can lift other people up in that process, it's so interesting sitting here, with the couch shirt on, my dog, and seeing, behind your back that, there's the flag, it's like,
when I look at my gym,
that idea came from a place where I was like, my daughter, had a heart defect, and I was having to work extra jobs to be able to pay for the health insurance. I mean, every beautiful, strong thing that you've seen, or the micro stuff, has all come from weakness, and has all come from the grace of God. It has all come from the love of others. It has all come from owning up to my stuff and saying, I can't do this. I'm going to need your help. Anything that's been raised up has come from the struggle.
I mean, we're all human, and we all have our struggles. And what's amazing is, for me, my biggest goal now is I just want to make sure that I leave this world better than it was when I got here.
Yeah.
That when I walk away, I want to be remembered as someone who helped. I don't want to be remembered as someone who was a problem. Have I made mistakes? I'm human. I've done some horrible things in my past, things that I am so sorry for, and I'm so regretful for, and I'm hoping the people that were involved in that know that,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things I get so much joy out of helping people. A lot of people don't know this, but when I did the Ironman, if you look at my times, the very first lap of the run was horrible. I had like 20, I think I was doing 20, 22-minute miles. There was a lady that I ran into in the first mile that has an autoimmune disease whose kidneys, she was like, I think my kidneys are shutting down. I'm having this. And I'm like, do you need to stop? She's like, I need to finish this. I'm like, okay, well, I'm staying with you. And I stayed with her the whole time. And for me, it was one of those things. My biggest goal has been to finish that Ironman. But the second I saw her, I'm like, if I don't get a medal today, whatever.
Whatever.
She's finishing this. So because on the way they did it, it was 4-mile loops. She was on her final loop. I was on my first. So I'm like, I'll get her through this and then I'll try and make up the time on the next loops. And I made sure she finished that. And to me, as I was coming in, I was probably the last person to get a medal and they shut down everything after I went through. And as I'm thinking, as I'm coming up, knowing that I may not get a medal because
Right.
I may be too late, I'm like, I'm okay with it. I know it's going to suck because I trained so hard to do this,
Yes.
but
Well, it's a huge achievement.
I'm okay with it because I know I helped that lady get through.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've learned so much from More Heart Than Scars. I mean, I've had that mentality a little bit before that, but the more spent time with More Heart Than Scars and this team, the more I'm like, forget the medals, forget all
Right.
that. My house, I could lose the medals tomorrow. They could all disappear. But what you can never take from me is the knowledge and the memory of doing the races like I have.
Yeah.
Helping Marla get 30 miles, you know, helping Erica get, another race in Florida last year, all of that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, helping Marla get get a buckle, you know, all of that you can't take from me.
Right.
And it fills my soul. And I mean, I have felt more happy, I guess is the right word,
Yeah.
since I've done this. I feel whole. I don't feel like there's something missing every time, like I'm alone.
Yeah.
I feel like, there's people out there and that, there's more heart than scars. I have scars that you can see and I have scars you can't, just like
Right.
everybody else,
Right.
and there's a lot of things. I mean, Don knows a lot more about my past than pretty much anyone else. I mean, we've known each other since preschool. He knows some things,
He
but
knows some things.
but he better shut up because I know some things too. But but it's one of those things that I mean, the group that you've made and this idea with the couch. I mean, I love all of it. So, and I'm hoping that I get to do a race soon where I carry that couch.
Oh yeah. Well, that particular one, we burned it.
Well, I mean, another one. Hopefully not that one. I mean, that one will be a lot lighter now, though.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go. There's going to be more of this, and there's going to be put out in a way that really, yes, it's going to honor those that are lost and those that are stuck in a way that we're going to just meet people where they are. That's the whole thing. Is the shame. Man, after COVID and all the stuff we've all been through, we don't need any more shame. It's like I remember I was all mad at my dad. The Cats in the Cradle song came out. I was at some retreat thing when I was a kid. They played that song, and all the dads just felt like shit. And as the older I got, my dad said to me, "I'm sorry, I was gone so much." And I've been gone from my kid too. Like here, trying to have the charity go. I mean, for some good reasons and bad reasons. I also wasn't always around. We just need to stop beating the crap out of each other or out of ourselves. And so, yeah, there's a lot of shoulds. The cold water is helpful. Drinking more water is good. But what I want to say to you is if you're stuck, if you're 300, 400, 500, 600 pounds, or you're 100 pounds and you look skinny but you're weak, I don't care what your outside is looking like because your body is a soul wrapper. And that soul is a divine spark. Whatever the sacred is, if it's in you, that's in me, that's in all of us, it thrives in the breaking of bread, and if some of the gluten-free bread, whatever. It thrives in a shared meal. It thrives in community and in purpose. It that healing comes in confessing what is weak in us, because eventually everything's going to go away and our body's going to break down and we're going to be dying. And I'm so glad that, as difficult as my relationship with my father was, that I forgave him enough and he pursued me enough and he forgave me enough that I could be there to be with him to finish that. Let's not bark, dogs. So I'm so grateful that my father and I were able to do that. And like, my dad got his Emmy, ironically, for directing the opening ceremonies for the Paralympics, of all things, you know, like, so he's had some great big moments. He did several Super Bowl halftime shows. He's done some pretty spectacular things. And I've watched him tell George Burns where to stand one time. He was directing and George Burns was there. And that's when the movie Oh God came out. So I was there like, here's my dad telling George Burns, who plays God, what to do and what to say. And that was a trippy thing. But it wasn't until everything was gone and he was reaching out to me and to my mom and saying, I wish I spent more time with you. I want you to, you know, and fighting for every one of those breaths and for his dignity and to connect with it. There could be forgiveness and connection. That's it.
Yeah.
So we got to stop chasing the shiny and go after the real.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.